Hello, it's Matt O'Leary, and it is time for a review of the second album by the Lemon Twigs called Go to School. The driving force, the creative muscle, the lifeblood of this band is the two brothers, Michael and Brian D'Addario, the Wonder Boys from Long Island, and strangely enough, both of these guys were childhood actors. They also went to the same high school as, don't know if you've heard of him or not, Billy Joel. Brian actually played the little boy from Les Mis, Gavroche, and Flounder from The Little Mermaid on Broadway. But with all this talent and all this opportunity at the ripe and innocent age of barely 20, the boy's true artistic passion is undoubtedly music. And the Lemon Twigs' first album, Do Hollywood, was a dopamine blast that I reviewed back in 2016. And what a discovery that album was. Spotless from front to back and filled with nostalgic splashes of 60s Baroque pop and 70s power pop. The idiosyncrasies of Sgt. Pepper with the swagger of Mercury and Jagger. As a couple of city kids with a new hairstyle and a new tight graphic tee every single day, Do Hollywood did come out as a little bit erratic, a little bit scatterbrained. I feel like it sounded like they took all the best songs they wrote over their teenage years and their life, really, and just kind of shoved them all together without really connecting them or creating a flow with any sort of through line. But there's so many songs on that album you'd think of as hits, like As Long as We're Together and These Words and I Want to Prove to You. And their EP from last year, Brothers of Destruction, stuck with that cut and paste formula, jumping from gothy synth stuff to classical guitar-led balladry. That's really not a major gripe, though. I feel like every single song this duo's released has been fantastic. Their raw songwriting talent and just the ease in which they churn out these unique melodies is off the charts. But I was really happy to see that on the second album they're going for more of a full-length album listening experience rather than just a collage of singles. Let's just cut to the chase here. Go to School. It's a rock opera about a monkey named Shane. Gotta bear with me here, I realize not the greatest pitch. And this true underdog narrative kicks off pretty quickly with the first track, where Michael actually got the idea from this one from eavesdropping on an airplane conversation about a miscarriage. In this song, the character Carol is introduced, and she's nearly 50 years old. She's desperately wanting a child, and it's what she's meant to do. So she manages to find old gullible Bill, who thinks he's in love. They get pregnant, which is awkward to say the least, but the doctor delivers some bad news. Though he'll never be in your arms, he'll always be in your heart. Michael penned these first three tracks, and I think it's a pretty interesting start to the album to kick things off with three songs written and sung by who I think is probably the weaker of the songwriters between the two brothers. But more than ever before, Michael's personality just really comes to life on this album. His vocals are so rough around the edges, but so passionate. He just goes for it all the time, like on the lusty First Love tale of Queen of My School, which he's just shrieking and cracking on all the time. Rock Dreams is such a 70s gem. It takes a few listens to not be completely shocked by the self-indulgence of the song. I mean, the vocals are just over-the-top ridiculous. The instrumentation is so showy. I'm someone that's always got a little bit uncomfortable with musical theater just because it's so hokey. Like sometimes I'm just sitting there crawling out of my skin. So it took me a while to warm up to, but ultimately I was just endlessly interested by it, and it's all I wanted to listen to for like a month straight. Even though I was aghast, I was horrified sometimes when I did. Because the music here is fantastic. Every song has a brilliantly complex melody with constantly shifting chords, but with enough repetition to just cement it in your mind. And all the heavy-handed quirkiness of Michael is really balanced out by just the sheer beauty, the sheer elegance of Brian's Brian songs. The songs Wonder in Ways and The Lesson are a nice, really delicate relief from the intensity of the first 3 tracks with a very 1930s-esque bounce to him. Brian sounds a little bit like Tiny Tim, too. I think this guy's a melodic genius, I really do. I feel like McCartney would kill for these songs. And Brian's poignant orchestral arrangements continue throughout the album, most notably on the fully orchestral and heart-wrenching Born Wrong / Heart Song. The contrast between the dynamic highs and lows of the song, it's just, it's so Broadway, it's so well done, especially for his first go-around at this sort of thing. It's very Andrew Lloyd Webber. I think my song of the year for 2018 is Small Victories. This thing is just, if you like psych pop, it is 4 minutes of perfection. And the bass is just taking a stroll the whole song. Kind of hidden in the song is Shane's very esoteric philosophy and his insightful observations of his foolish friends at school, but you hardly even notice that with how blissful the music is. The Bully is another super unique song, and you don't imagine a high school bully singing over some silky bossa nova. I love the kind of messy horn part that's thrown in there, which brings everyone back to the high school marching band days. And by the end of the song, you start to learn about the bully's very dysfunctional family, and you really start to feel some empathy for him. And again, just the versatility of the song, all these influences and disparate musical sounds coming together into something cohesive and something so catchy. It's a testament to the musical fluency of these guys. This is a coming-to-age tale about Shane, and if it were a film, the happiness and joy montage would end at the song Never Know. Up till this point on the album, Shane experiences his otherness in all sorts of ways. He feels like an outsider and really goes through all the classic American hurdles of high school. But in Never Know, his dad breaks the news that Shane's adopted. Todd Rundgren gives a convincing performance, and the song is one of the most proggy and intricate on the album. Again, some nimble bass and these luscious harmonies make this thing up. It's definitely a highlight for me. And Shane finds out why he's so different, which apparently he didn't know up to this point. He's a monkey, and he doesn't take too well to the news. He pretty much boils over in pain and anger. And he goes full Carrie on us on the aptly titled The Fire, where he burns down the school. This is both the climax of the story and the most accomplished musical piece on this thing. It's when you really realize that these brothers, their talent, their potential is something special. The ending is this big Elton John-esque romp with these sha-na-na-na-na-na-na, and Shane is just relishing in his revenge against existence itself. And in all his pain, he ends up rationalizing this brutal act of revenge as a means of justice, as a means of balancing the scales. But he ends up saying that this all just increases the pain. And as his deep resentment turned to rage, his life turned from mere suffering to absolute hell. And boy, oh boy, if that isn't the realest thing you're going to hear today. And in the remaining few tracks, you get the moral of the story. Shane is trying to regain the peace and the tranquility of his youth. He goes to his tree, his happy place. The biggest way that Shane is like all of us is that he's unlike all of us. He's an individual, and there's a tragic solitude that comes from that. You know, just having these depths of experiences and perceptions that you can't quite adequately communicate to other people. Sure, you can strive for possessions, you can strive for material well-being, for temporary prizes. But the Twigs really bring it home on the gorgeous ballad closing track, If You Give Enough. That meaning comes not from receiving, but from giving of yourself. It comes from taking responsibility for what you have to give in the first place and not wasting the opportunity to take your unique place in the world. And after all that, we get this reprise coda with a bunch of melodies from the album coming back one last time. It really gives off the same emotion as the end of A Day in the Life. And voila, that's it. Most people are probably going to be turned off by this album, honestly, and not give it the chance I feel like it so deserves. I just feel like the idiosyncrasies are a little bit hard to stomach right away. But what I can't get over is just how unabashedly authentic the Lemon Twigs music is. They're so young, they've got so much ahead of them. But for me, this is a first on the channel. 10. If you stuck with me to the end, I feel like you're obligated to give it at least 3 listens. These are the albums that keep you discovering. So as always, thank you so much for watching.